Hey Inspirators, it's Inspiring Vanessa here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today, as you guys can see, today is another YouTube live like I usually do every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT time. So as you guys can see by the title of today's video, today I'm kind of talking about what is life going to be like after all of this is over. So you guys can probably expect, or that you guys probably already know, that I'm in quarantine kind of because my school is closed like most people's schools. So I'm just gonna kind of talk about what it's been like, because I kind of had an Easter holidays for like the past 2 weeks, so kind of got a bit more relaxed after like the heaps of overwhelming work in like the first couple of weeks. But now I'm kind of starting to get back on track with it, so that means kind of waking up earlier than I did for like the past week and starting to like do more work and try and be more productive and try and focus more and improve my time management. So I thought it would be a cool idea to kind of talk about what is it going to be like after quarantine? What's it going to be like after lockdown? Is it all going to go back to normal? So if you guys have anything to say in the comments, comment down below and I'll be sure to read it at the end of this video once I'm finished. But let's just get straight into it. I do have a paper here, so if I'm looking down, that is because I'm reading the paper, because I have points to talk about. So the first thing is kind of like the answer to a question is like, is this all going to go back to normal? And to be honest, I don't really think it will be, only because I think people will be like, people have lost family members, so I don't think people are just going to let it act like nothing actually happened, because I think this whole pandemic that's happening in like the world basically is making a massive impact on people's lives, either negatively mainly or either positively, because they're actually learning something from it. Because before all of this happened, I mean, people have said that the world is not ready for a pandemic or an outbreak of a virus, and then here we are in the 21st century still not really knowing how to deal with this. So in a way, it's kind of like a learning curve for all of us that the world had to go through, I guess. So I don't really think anything's going to go back to normal afterwards. I mean, we're going to go like shops are going to be reopening and things. People aren't going to be as scared as they were before, but maybe people will be even more cautious than they were before, like during this pandemic, because afterwards people don't want anything to come back again, because goodness me, if everything went back to normal then something else happened, I don't even want to think of it like that, because it's just kind of like you got back into a normal routine again like it was before all of this, and then back at home kind of thing. So I don't really think anything's gonna go back to normal. I think people just gonna carry on like feeling like this is still, it doesn't feel real anymore. But obviously when you kind of see your friends again, you have that more social interaction, then I guess it will get better from there. So I don't really think it'll go back to normal, because I think it's a very big thing that's gonna happen. Like, we're living in like, everybody's been saying this, I've seen it like blow up on my phone, but people think, just imagine like we're living in future history lessons kind of, because people are going to be learning about this like probably in their schools, I don't know in how many years time. So it is a big event that's happening around the world. It's not necessarily a good thing, but if we kind of take the good things out of it, then it is in a way a good thing. But otherwise, obviously people are passing away all around the world, so it's kind of bad to think of it like it's an amazing thing, because not only are people losing family members or even friends, but they are also just kind of like losing their social life, or kind of not allowing to speak to other people. They actually have to like not do anything. They just have to stay stuck at home. So in a way it is a good and a bad thing. So there are pros and cons, just like everything else. So the next thing is, will we actually learn from this? Now, to be honest, unfortunately, it's kind of like there are two types of people in this situation. The first type of person is that the person is like really panicked about it, so they literally will not go outside without a mask, gloves. You know that kind of person. Like me and my mum going to the shops or something just to get like different bits for food, and you just kind of see a person who you can just tell, like, obviously their nose and their mouth is covered, so you can see through their eyes that they are super frightened and they're super scared. So that's the first type of person who just like completely closing themselves off from anybody. And then you have the other person who just doesn't even care. Like, they might be watching the news, they might be figuring out that other people are dying around the world, but no, they're still gonna just stay at the park, sit there sunbathe for the whole day, or they're just gonna exercise for the whole day in the park. People can be so ignorant. Like, honestly, people, I don't even understand anymore. Hi Rihanna, I honestly do not understand anymore. People have been like just sunbathing in the park because me and my mum go on daily walks. So just to get fresh air, and we're allowed to have one form of exercise. Going for a walk around the park for like an hour is not a bad thing because we're getting exercise. That's something that we are allowed to do. But not just sitting there, bringing a whole deck chair to the park just to lie there and sunbathe. I mean, people just I don't think people really understand it, because if something actually happened to them, then they would start actually taking these precautions into their own hands. But otherwise, people are not really caring or doing anything about it. Like, I've seen videos online of people not even socially distancing, and I'm like, do you really understand the meaning of social distancing? So it's kind of annoying, I would say, because people aren't really focusing on like the actual problem here. So unfortunately, there are some people who are just super panicked by it, and then there are people who just don't really care. Otherwise, they're just us who are in the middle, who are scared about it but are still aware of the things that we need to do to keep safe, but we're not like completely closing ourselves off in a way. So I just think it's a bit of a weird situation, and you do get to see how people actually are. So in a way, it is a good thing, because then we get to see who actually cares about others and who just simply cares about themselves. What's your opinions on memes on COVID-19? I mean, like, on the 3rd of January in 2020, I saw a bunch of TikToks about people joking about World War III. So, it's not necessarily a funny thing to talk about, unless people are, like, if you're, like, joking about it in, like, a rude way, like a dark humour, then it's not nice. But otherwise, if it's simply for a joke that, you know, is going to make people laugh for, like, it's going to make people laugh for the good intentions, like, it's a good intention that you're creating the video of people making memes out of it. But I guess there are like different types of memes. They can be purposely hurtful or like offensive, or they can just simply be like actually genuinely funny. But otherwise, I haven't really seen that many COVID-19 memes, because I think people know it's actually quite a touchy subject and people don't want to get cancelled or have any controversy on their social media accounts. I haven't really seen any memes on social media. So otherwise, I think everyone's just trying to entertain themselves in a way. But entertaining yourself and hurting others is not really the ways to make people laugh or make people feel happy. So if you ever think about making a meme that you know is going to be offensive to other people, do not post it, because, yeah, it's just not going to end up well for anybody. So, hey, do you remember me? Hi, Giovanni, so cool. Maybe if I see your face. Otherwise, I really don't remember people's usernames unless they come like really frequently, because my memory is actually really bad, surprisingly. But if I see your face, I probably will remember you. Okay, the next thing is, will social distancing still be put in after this is all over? So when, let's say, they put on the news, thank goodness, after how long we're going to be on lockdown, they're going to be like, okay, so now it's over. Like, we found a vaccine for it, and people can start to get better from it, and then we can start opening the shops and opening back schools, and everything's starting to go back to normal. People start going back to work, we'll start going back to school, see our friends finally, our reunion, or actually get to go out of our houses just for normal things that we did before, rather than just specific things like going out to get food or doing one form of exercise or healthcare reasons. So I still do think that social distancing could be put in afterwards, just because they don't want anything to come back. Because once they figure out something, like once they figure out a vaccine for it, then people don't want that thing. They don't want the virus to come back. So I think people will still be slightly social distancing. I mean, once we've gotten into the habit of it, it's going to be like a whole new routine. So when we go back to normal, it's going to be like, oh, we can be close to each other now? It feels weird. It feels weird again. So honestly, it is quite a weird situation for everyone, I guess. I mean, in the beginning of it, it just felt like it was a movie. So I don't really know how I feel about the whole situation, other than people need to focus and actually like take it more into seriousness. How's your quarantine? I mean, it's been quite overwhelming with like the heaps of work that I've been getting, especially now. Like I've got like 4 homeworks to do for one day. Now I know I usually have 6 lessons a day at school, but just having to do it all in one day, like in your own time, it just feels really different. Especially that you don't have like your friends around you to help you straight away, or like just to talk to anyways. I know you shouldn't always be talking to your friends in class because you need to be focusing on your education, but it just feels weird because you have to actually do it by yourself, and it just feels more like isolated, and it just makes this whole pandemic more realistic, and it just kind of you start to comprehend it even more, like the more you start to work, or the more you start to realize like I don't know when I'm gonna see my friends again. But otherwise you just kind of need to think about the end result and how you're going to feel when you see your friends or your family that you haven't seen for we really don't know how long. So I mean, otherwise it's been quite a good use of time, especially for me, because even though, well, for the last couple of weeks, like Easter holidays, so I haven't really had that much work, other than coming back today because now it's like Monday, so it's like back from holidays if I was still actually going out, able to go out to school. So I mean, it's weird because it's like I'm being homeschooled, but then at the same time, I had all this free time on my hands. So in a way, I could still create content for you guys as well. That's something that I've been doing a lot. And then also just having time to relax for myself. Like, I'm still 13 years old. I do have days where I just don't want to do anything. And to be honest, if I'm being really honest, sometimes most days I've just felt like that for like the past week. So my routine was like completely messed up. Like, utterly messed up. So if you're one of those people, or if your morning routine hasn't really been the best for the last couple of days, or the last couple of weeks, do not feel like you're alone, because I'm exactly the same. So I'm just trying to get into a better habit or routine. So I'm kind of like doing the school days just at home, so I still had that time to do my schoolwork, and then after 3 o'clock, then I'm just kind of like free to do whatever I need to do afterwards, because I can't be working till like 6 o'clock in the evening, because that's not what I would do on a normal school day. So I think having that good time management to have it realistically, like if you were at school and you doing those school hours just at home, obviously. So I mean, it's a good use of time because you can do lots of different things, but I think at this point, like, I don't know, 4 weeks in, people are starting to get really bored and people are starting to lose their minds, I feel like. So if you haven't gone outside for I don't know how long, then ask your parents if you can go out just for a walk, if you've got a park near you, or even just go into the garden and just like get some fresh air, because I know people who haven't left the house for like 4 weeks, and I honestly don't know how I would deal with that, because before this we're like, oh yeah, I would just stay at home for forever. And then when we actually have to stay at home, or we have to stay at home more than we are really allowed to go out, then people start to take when we took advantage of seeing our friends and actually having the freedom to go out and having the freedom to actually go to school, because everybody at school is like, oh yeah, I would love to just not go to school and just stay at home for how long, but actually it's quite draining. The more, like, every single day, the more you realize I need to get up, not see my friends like I usually do on the weekdays, still do my work, and then just act like nothing happened beforehand. So in a way, I think everybody's dealing with the situation differently, so that's kind of my own perspective on it. Why do you think Boris Johnson caught coronavirus when he himself put the lockdown rule? Do you think he's lying? I don't think, well, like, I'm not gonna try and make some controversy here, but to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Boris Johnson, because he is a very controversial person. So some things that he's done, I obviously haven't necessarily agreed with. So I just think that the way he's using his power isn't the best way, obviously, possible. But I do not think he lied about having the coronavirus, because if he was boasting about how him and his family were going to be safe and everybody else was going to catch it, that would just kind of be seen as karma in a way that he caught it. So I don't think he would be lying about it, because he was in intensive care. At least that's what they said on the news. But some things that they said on the news aren't necessarily maybe all true. They could just be there to make us more scared and make us want to stay at home, because initially they do want us to stay at home only unless we have to do one form of exercise, healthcare reasons, or go out for food, because otherwise, either way, people are just going to go out because people don't really care otherwise. So I think production companies or the television is like trying to put scary headlines, not only just because they mainly are true, but because they want to kind of scare us into staying inside. It's like one of the worst ways to cope with these kind of things, but in a way that's kind of what the media has come to, because people simply aren't listening, so they need to kind of take matters into their own hands. So I don't think he was lying about it, but yeah, I don't think he was lying about it, because it would like, that would ruin his ego, if that makes sense. Like, why would you lie about having the coronavirus if you were very clear to everybody that you weren't going to catch it? So I don't know, but I mean, he was in intensive care. That's what it said on the news. I'm not saying believe everything that you see on the news, but I mean, I do believe that he had the coronavirus. So otherwise, I really don't know anymore, because not everything on the news could necessarily be true. They could be changing words around. I mean, the main original story could be true, but they're just turning things around to make it seem more scary, or just to make people more anxious, which is really not nice. How are you? I've been dealing good recently. How are you? What are your plans to progress in your career after lockdown? I mean, it's weird because I'm always going to events, and now I actually have to stay at home and just kind of like be with myself. So I mean, afterwards, I mean, I think there are going to actually be quite a lot of events to help people with the aftermath of lockdown, the aftermath, I think that's how you pronounce it, of lockdown. So I think there will be quite a lot of events that we could be attending, or that I could be speaking at. Otherwise, I mean, anything that comes along afterwards, but otherwise, obviously, now in the situation, we cannot go anywhere, which means there are absolutely no events coming up, because, I mean, all the venues are closed, so it's been quite quiet. But otherwise, we've been doing online interviews. We live in the day and age of the 21st century with technology and devices, so I mean, you can use that to your own advantage and actually be resourceful. So I've been doing quite a lot of online interviews, like through Instagram, and like Skype calls as well for different like podcasts, or just writing down or answering questions for like magazines or something like that. So that's kind of what I've been getting up to in like more career terms and during lockdown. But otherwise, it has been great speaking to you all. I hope you're all staying really safe, and that you're all trying to stay positive, obviously, during these hard times. I hope your family and friends are all very safe, and I'll see you guys on next week's YouTube Live at 5 p.m. GMT time, British time, because I am very British. And without further ado, I'll see you guys on my next YouTube Live or next YouTube video. Bye.